Hi, this is Mike Shackelford, also known as the Wizard of Odds. Today is April the 26th, 2023, and I am at the Global Table Games and Game Protection Conference at the Sahara in Las Vegas. And I am joined by Paul Harry, right, with Innovative Table Games, showing his game Pairs and Up Poker. Paul, thanks for having me. Can you tell me a little bit more about your game?
Thank you, Michael, for having me. It's a very simple game. It's a 4-card poker game. You do not play against the dealer. You do not play against any other player. You're going to use the dealer's cards as community cards to make a 4-card poker hand. Extremely easy, very, very fast. The only difference we have with our game is we use a modified deck with 25 aces, 12 twos, 8 threes, and 7 fours. So you can get very easy poker hands, and you can get some very unique poker hands.
Okay, and does the player get to see any of his cards before he makes his bets?
The player will have to make a mandatory ante-bet. Then they get their 2 cards, which they can look at, and the dealer, just like in blackjack, is going to reveal one of their cards. So the player is going to have knowledge of 3 cards. All they have to do is guess what poker hand they think they can get. They make their bet accordingly. There's 8 hands to choose from. They make their decision. The dealer will then reveal the 4th card. If the poker hand matches, then they win. If they don't, of course it loses. There's also a double match side bet where they're simply betting that their 2 cards are going to match the dealer's cards. So you can imagine when you have a game where you have 25 aces, you can have the player can have 2 aces, the dealer can have 2 aces, or maybe they've got an ace deuce and the dealer's got an ace deuce. So the harder it is to hit the hand, the higher cards, like say 3s and 4s, you can make a lot of money. Some of our hands pay 50 to 1. We have hands that pay, ordinary hands with aces involved that pay 3 to 1, 4 to 1. So if the player gets lucky, they can make a little bit of money.
Thanks. Mind if I play it a little?
Sure, I'd love to. Okay, we're going to show you an example of how to play pairs and up. The mandatory bet that the player must make is an ante bet. We have 2 bets on the layout, the ante and then the double match, which you can see both bets here. Go ahead and deal. Each player gets 2 cards. And the dealer gets 2 cards. Now, as I said earlier, the dealer is going to reveal one of their cards. So as you can see, the dealer's got a 3 showing. Player 1, show us your cards. What do you have? She's got a 2 and a 4. Okay. You go ahead and put them on the table. Now, the option in this case is a little more limited for the player, but as you can see, we've got a 2-4. There are 25 aces in this deck, so this player is going to definitely want to bet a straight. The play bet after the initial cards is double the ante. So whatever you bet on the ante must be doubled for the play bet. Okay, player 2, let's look at now. The dealer will tuck the cards so we know that the game is ready to go. We have an ace 3. The dealer is showing a 3. So the player will more than likely bet 2 pair because they're looking for an ace under there. They could also bet 3 aces, so there are another number of options that are available. Now the dealer will reveal, once the cards are set, the dealer will reveal their final card, ace 3. Go ahead and we turn it back over, verify the play. Okay, the player in this case won 2 pair. So the player is going to get 2 to 1 on their play bet and their ante bet. So they get paid in both cases. Then, because their cards match the dealer's cards, they're getting paid an additional 4 to 1. So as you can see, the player just made a very nice haul just with that simple bet. Now we move to the first player. In this case, we turn the cards over. The player won a straight, so we have a 1, 2, 3, 4. They're not suited, so the player bet the straight and not the straight flush. If they had bet the straight flush, they would have lost. But they got the straight. They're going to win 4 to 1. All right. They also win 4 to 1 on their ante bet. All right. Now, dealer match. The cards do not match. The players in the dealer's cards do not match, so that loses. But as you can see, the player made a nice haul with that play out. Now, again, as I mentioned, in most normally cases, you're going to fold 35% of the time. But when the cards run in your favor, you're going to make a bet and you can make some cash. And that is pairs and up poker.
Thanks, Paul, for that demonstration. Can I ask you a few mathematical questions?
Sure, happy to answer them.
So, how about strategy? Can you give me any strategy tips for the player?
Sure. Like most poker games, you're not going to keep the hand. You're going to fold. In our game, you should fold about 35% of the time. It's just the way the cards come out. You can get lucky, but yeah, there's a little bit of strategy that's involved in the game that can be very helpful to your play.
Now, I'm sure there's lots of different combinations of 3 cards, but can you give me any quick strategy tips? What you should bet with like a pair or 2 to a straight flush, something like that?
Sure. Basically, when you're playing our game, because of the structure of the deck, with 25 aces, 12 twos, 8 threes, and 7 fours, anytime you have a combination where you have 3s and 4s involved, you have a better chance of obtaining a higher paying hand. You can still do well with the aces because it's very easy to get a pair of aces between the player and the dealer, but sometimes you get an ace and a 3 and maybe the dealer is showing an ace. Well, in a case like that, the player would probably fold. That is the correct thing to do. But you can decide to get lucky. You can bet 3 aces, which you already know you have a winner because you've got 3 aces you're seeing. So you have a lot of options with this game. So you just have to guess the right poker hand that you're going to get. That's what makes it exciting, and that's why it pays as well as it does.
All right, so what is the house advantage in your game?
Okay, the house advantage is basically 2.16%. So there's a nice balance between what the house gets and the return to the player. Now, of course, we have a side bet, a little bit more of an advantage for the house, but depending on how you play the game, you can easily do well.
All right, well, thank you Paul, for showing me pairs and up poker.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.